Very warm welcome. This is Mark David Thomas from bridgingfinancecapital.com and morethanbridgingfinance.com. We're here today with a very experienced landlord, Gilbert Garrick, who's very kindly given us a little bit of his time to actually go through about 20 questions of why he first got into the property industry and what keeps him in the property industry as well.
Hello Mark, nice to see you.
Yeah, just first question, Gilbert, is how did you ever get involved in the property industry?
Well, actually, Mark, it was purely by accident. As my first job, I was an electrical engineer working with the HAT Group, which serviced clients like Rolls Royce, Westland Helicopters, amongst others. And we'd assist these large companies when they had to relocate their plants and stuff. In the early 80s, I would be asked by family members to do small electrical jobs in their homes, and word got out that I was kind of handy and useful, and I'd give a good service at a fair price, so word just spread from there.
Right, and from there on, did you stay on with the HAT Group, or do you decide to go it on your own and actually go into the investment market for yourself?
Well, I'm not sure I ventured into the investment market.
So you decided to go full-time into the property market?
Yeah, over a period of time. Then I thought, well, why not buy a large Victorian run-down house and renovate it into apartments and let them out. I had a good little team working for me, so it was easy enough for me to do. And we had a lot of fun over the years. It was a marvellous time.
Excellent. Do you still have the houses and apartments today that you first started on all those years ago?
Not now, as the first one we worked on were in the 1980s, and I only retained 2 large houses comprising of 12 apartments, and all rented out, of course.
Right, okay. An interesting question for you. Why do they call you the family landlord?
It's a bit of a nickname that has stuck because once a week on Friday evenings, when rents used to be collected, I would always spend time getting to know the tenants and ended up more of a father figure to, instead of just being called the landlord. I've always handpicked my tenants, as it's nice to know their background and their occupations, as I have to make everyone happy and living together under one roof.
Okay. So these days, of course, you don't collect the rents by hand.
Oh no, that thing's all in the past. As these days everyone pays into a bank, but I always visit on a Saturday at midday on the dot as part of everyone's agreement, just to make sure everything's in order, everyone's happy. Happy tenants equals happy household and profitable landlord business.
Yeah, quite agree with you as well. How often do you update your apartments these days?
Every 2 years my small team will paint interior, including the apartments, and give my tenants a week discount from their rent for any inconvenience, which makes really good business sense. Each apartment has trade orchid white on the walls and trade brilliant matte on the ceilings. I've kept this consistent over 25 years.
Good. How do you these days view the property market?
Since the historic Brexit vote, central London has slowed slightly and prices are moving down, a touch due to the uncertainty, but nothing so dramatic as the economists were suggesting. Property is always a constant, it's always in demand. There will always be peaks and troughs over the years, known as the cycles, which is totally expected. So I always gauge property as a long-term investment. This country will always win as a nation. It's a strong nation, it's resilient, and we'll always keep moving in the right direction.
Excellent. I mean, these days, where would you consider buying if you were coming into the landlord market as an investor right now?
Well, things have changed so much that investors are having to go further afield, and I would consider Birmingham as a good location, especially well-known jewellery quarter. I would also be looking at old warehouses for conversions and investigate the possibility of residential planning and converting into apartments, then selling or refinancing on a buy-to-let basis to pay back the capital borrowed.
Okay, have you ever taken bridging finance in the past, and not just a buy-to-let mortgage, but bridging finance?
Yes, when required to raise monies to build 2 roof extensions, for example.
And was it easy to raise this type of short-term capital?
Pretty much. So as it was for one of my investment houses, and the funder just required the house to be valued and be a good security for the loan that they offered me. So it was very straightforward and very convenient.
So time-wise, it was done very swiftly for you as well.
I remember correctly, no more than a week to raise the monies, as my lawyers did all the hard work, apart from paying back the loan for me, which would have been really nice of them, but they didn't quite go that far. But a week, I mean, that's brilliant, isn't it?
That's a good time, very, very good time. How did you manage to redeem the bridging finance?
Luckily for me, the consultant who arranged the bridge finance was able to refer me to a great mortgage advisor, so we were able to refinance the property back to a buy-to-let mortgage on a fixed rate once the conversion had been done.
Excellent. In regards to buy-to-lets, I mean, would you recommend a fixed rate for a buy-to-let mortgage in this present market?
Most certainly, and I would look at a fixed term of at least 5 years or more, so you can plan ahead in the knowledge that the mortgage payment will not change over the fixed term and will make for good investor planning.
Good. Any other tips on paying down the mortgage sooner, the monies that you borrowed?
I learnt a sensible method from a good friend of mine who would always contact his lender on a Friday and pay an extra payment to pay down the capital he had borrowed, reducing the balance. And the trick is to do this weekly, not monthly. So it's a bit of a discipline, but if you get it right, it's a big benefit. This was in the days of variable rate mortgages and made perfect sense. It certainly helped me, but you must be totally disciplined.
No, I quite agree. I mean, on average, I've read that 9 out of 10 planning applications from developers are passed for planning, yet there is still a shortage of properties with the words developers stockpiling their land. Why do you think this is the case?
Personally, I believe that it is twofold, on the basis that developers who have made significant monies previously go for planning and sell the land with planning permission for a quick uplift, and if they can find a willing purchaser, develop, although they may take time. Secondly, the developer who owns a number of land deals with planning just does not have the workforce to take on several projects at the same time and monitor them daily, hence the hold-up. Maybe the government could intervene and purchase the sites with planning from developers and develop them for themselves. Just an idea. You never know, and I know there's plenty of money to lend from financial institutions.
Thank you. Any last suggestions for our budding landlord investors, Gilbert?
I would do as much homework and research as I possibly could, from choosing the right locations, the types of properties I'm interested in, and certainly make sure I have a good, well-established mortgage consultant to give me guidance. My mortgage advisor would always tell me the majority of people who decide to buy a property never go and see how much they can borrow first. This is so essential to do at the outset, so the person knows what they have the chance to buy.
Totally agree with you. So you would say it's really all down to having a good solid game plan?
Absolutely, most certainly, and with so much good of information available these days, I think it's a lot easier to find. I mean, you've even got Google Maps where you can look at the streets and view stuff, what you're looking for, within reason, of course. I certainly would find a good mortgage advisor or bridging advisor, especially if you're looking for investment properties. And it has to be completed in a quick, timely manner in order to get the best deals. Bridging finance is always worth contemplating.
Gilbert, thank you so much for your time. That was an interview with Gilbert Garrick, the family landlord, and this is Mark Thomas from bridgingfinancecapital.com and our other company, more than bridgingfinance.com. Thank you very much.